Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mundane Matt, and I'm really glad I do not live in Texas. I'm just glad I don't live there. Texas, not a horrible state by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Houston sucks, but the rest of it's kind of all right. But the lawmakers are always doing dumb shit in that state, in my opinion, especially when it comes to reproductive rights and the constant tug of war that they're going through because of more religion, right? It's just, fucking keep goddamn religion out of goddamn politics. That's all I want. All I fucking want. But anyway, there's a situation brewing where an 11th term representative, Democrat representative, named Jessica Farrar, is trying to impose, I believe it's House Bill 4260, which essentially would require men to remain fully abstinent and only allow for the occasional masturbatory emissions inside healthcare and medical facilities unless they are ejaculating whilst having sex in a vagina. Yeah, it's an anti-masturbatory law where they would charge you or fine you $100 every time you crank out some knuckle children, and it's not done in a healthcare facility. Now, this is a trolling bill. All right, this is not meant to be taken seriously at all. It is meant to serve a point. Representative Farrar very much wants to make this about, like women's rights and like showing how ridiculous the women's right to know booklet is if they go in discussing an abortion or anything. They have to be given this pamphlet. It's state mandated moralism, which I fucking hate. And it's very funny too when you've got conservatives that are very much, wanting people to have personal freedoms, but not when it comes to abortion, because the Lord. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't ask for civil liberties and then restrict civil liberties because your holy text doesn't allow it. It's one of those things that's just very funny. If they started looking at fetuses like guns, maybe they'd look at it. No, they kind of do until they get out of the womb and then they don't give a shit. Now, in a phone interview, Representative Farrar says that a lot of people find the bill funny. What's not funny are the obstacles that Texas women face every day that were placed there by legislators making it difficult for them to access healthcare, which again goes back to what I mentioned with that women's right to know booklet. But the male version of the booklet, the man's rights to know, essentially says that a physician would verbally review the booklet with men and would be required to administer a medically unnecessary digital rectum exam and magnetic resonance imaging of the rectum, according to the bill. So if a man went into a medical care facility for colonoscopy or vasectomy or for getting Viagra, then they would be given this booklet, A Man's Right to Know, and then the doctor would have to give them a digital rectum scan. Now, this has everything to do with abortion, all right? Because the Women's Right to Know booklet essentially comes into play when a woman goes into a healthcare facility seeking an abortion. They're only allowed consent to that abortion given 24 hours after reading the book, as well as given a transvaginal ultrasound, which according to Farrar has nothing to do with the woman's healthcare. It's just one of the state's objectives into guilting her into changing her mind. Which is, if it's not necessary, like, again, the whole Viagra thing. It's like, how much is that going to impact the person's healthcare coverage if this law goes through and they want to go in to get Viagra and then they have to get a rectal scan? That shit ain't fucking cheap, right? Neither are probably the transvaginal ultrasounds. So again, given the situation we're currently finding ourselves in with the repeal of Obamacare and the replacement of Trump care, this isn't probably the best time for that. But then again, Jessica Farrar may not be thinking like that. She may be thinking if this law passes, which she does believe it's going to become famous, then that will force men to fight back against it, which would then show them how it affects women and then hopefully change their minds there. Which I understand. Okay, and I love a good troll. All right, whole Shia LaBeouf fucking "He Will Not Divide Us" flag is my favorite thing probably the last 4 or 5 years. And I get what she's doing. But at the same time, part of me is like, I don't know if this is like the right way to go about it. Especially right now, especially with Obamacare, because if Obamacare gets repealed and replaced with the current sitting Trump care, it's not going to go well for people. And it's only going to cost more money to go to the doctors. People aren't going to go to the doctors, and then less people are going to have to deal with this bill in general. Besides, when it comes to the masturbatory aspect of it, how are you going to charge? How are you going to know how many times I crank one out to old Cyndi Lauper videos I find on YouTube? How are you going to know? I'm not going to write about it publicly because that would just be awkward. But how are you going to know if anyone does it? Right? Again, I know it's a trolling bill. It's stupid, and that's the whole point of it. But I personally feel like this is a gigantic waste of not only time, but taxpayer money. And at this time, if the current ACA gets repealed with the AHCA, so Obamacare, Trump care, for guys who don't get that, then it's just going to have the wrong impact and can actually backfire in her face. I would rather there be better activism for trying to get more pro-choice legislative passed in Texas. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that getting people to vote in the counties where it matters. Let's be fair here. When it comes to Texas, pretty much the blueberry and a bowl of tomato soup is Austin, and even though it's a state capital, it doesn't have as big a pull as everywhere else. And so if Democrats are really wanting to fight something like this, to fight the pro-lifers and battle for pro-choice, then they need to start putting representatives in the counties where it matters. Forcing these kind of laws or trying to pass these kind of laws are only going to damage themselves in the long run, because one of the things that liberals aren't good at are jokes. Like, some liberals are good at making fun of conservatives, but some liberals cannot take jokes. And they can't tell them properly. And when that happens, it's only going to be bad. Or funny, depending on what side of the coin you're on. Me personally, if this blows up in her face, I'm going to laugh because it's so flippantly retarded. But for people in Texas who might be affected by this, if it doesn't blow up in her face, I feel really bad for you, and I recommend keeping your masturbatory habits even probably more under wraps than you are now. But I do want to know your guys' thoughts on this. So let me know in the comments below. Do you think that this is a good way to battle that kind of mindset? Do you think it's a dumb way? Do you think this is a kind of dumb shit that stays on the internet, so let's keep it on the internet? Because trolling in real life isn't always the best thing ever. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check back often for more content from me. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and remember, in silence, or in, yeah. Bye.